Hi, welcome to Week in Review. This week we're going to start off on a little different note by saying hello and get well soon to our friend Ben Felder, who took a little spill this week on a scooter. Ben, we're thinking about you. Hope to see you back in the newsroom soon. Let's turn to the headlines. I'm Phil O'Connor, the Live Enterprise Director here at the Oklahoman. There's some footage of Ben right there.
Good thing he had his helmet on.
Good thing he had his helmet on, which he always does wear his helmet when he's on his scooter. That's good to know. So anyway, I'm Phil O'Connor, the Live Enterprise Director. I'm joined this week by, of course, Darnell Mayberry from Sports, Don Mecoy from Business, and Tim Willer's here to talk about the latest in school turmoil, I guess we'd put it. Tim, let's go ahead and start with you. Crazy week, crazy couple weeks for the school district. Once again confronted with gigantic budget shortfalls. Initially, we were talking about school closing. That's apparently off the table. What's the latest?
Well, it's off the table for now. They want to revisit that consolidation plan in about 9 months or so. But basically, they're saying, I guess after a week of community meetings where people were not happy about having their community schools closed, they've decided to go in another direction. They're going to cut. They're going to increase class sizes, and they're going to reduce the number of teachers in the district, and they're going to make some other cuts. So they're going to try to get to $10 million, but they're not going to close schools to do it.
And obviously, again, there was a great outcry when that plan was announced. And you had a great story earlier this week about the amount of money that had been put into those schools just in the last couple of years, and the amount of money that was actually scheduled to be put in them in the coming years through this bond issue. And I think that was another thing that a lot of people were questioning: why make all these investments only to then just turn around and close them down?
Well, I think what they said last night, they want to look at enrollment trends. They want to do a demographic study. They want to look at the facilities. They want to they're thinking about redistricting too, because they're losing enrollment. They've got some areas that just barely have any kids going to the school. I mean, you might have 150 kids at a school, and they're trying to find a more efficient way to keep buildings open and maintain the budget. So.
And you've had Laura, the superintendent, out front on this, taking a lot of heat from a lot of people,
yes,
especially with the discussion about closing the schools. What's her status these days? Is she still enjoying the solid support of the school board, or is there any indication that she's not anymore?
Well, the school board makeup's about to change. Tuesday's an election, and as many as 3 new members could be on the board. So it sounds like they're backing her. I know that she didn't have the votes to close any of these schools, and I think she realized that early on. And then with the attendance at some of these meetings, they're going to have to go in a different direction. As far as I know, she's still getting the support she needs. I mean, I know these board members want to give her a chance to these candidates that are running for office, including the chair. They want to give her a chance and see what she can do.
And as Tim said, we have an election Tuesday. The chairman of the school board, 2 board seats up for grabs. Really important. Future of the district is at stake. A lot of big issues in front of them. Be sure to follow Tim's coverage on that. We'll be here Tuesday to cover the election. Tuesday night we'll be here, and we'll put the results up as soon as we find them. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Don. New restaurant in the Myriad Gardens to replace the old ice house that closed?
Yeah, the ice house has been closed for a while. They used to serve burgers. When it initially opened up, it was affiliated with Nick's, which is considered to be perhaps the best hamburger in town, and they were very good burgers.
Oh
but,
man, I can tell you we're going to hear from others about that now. That's almost like being the oldest bank in town. But go on.
I qualified. Considered to be. By some, I should say.
At least by Nick.
By many.
Okay.
To be the best burger in town, and they had really good burgers. I used to eat there occasionally. They're only a block away from our office here, but that affiliation fell through with Nick's, and eventually the place closed. And it's a tough place to operate because it's seasonal. It's the seating is outdoors. It's just a little cafe basically in the park where you sit down and eat your burgers or whatever. But now they found another place. Some young operators of a food truck called Pitchfork Kitchen and Bakery, which people really like, are going to come in and they're going to open this place. They're going to call it Pitchfork in the Park. They're going to have a unique kind of menu, and one of the things they're going to be serving that's new is ice cream. They're going to string old Edison lights around there so it has a little ambiance, and they're really prepared for this seasonal kind of business. So Steve Lackmeyer wrote the story, and I sort of felt like when I was reading it that he kind of had a sense of optimism, as did the people who brought in the Congers, who the married couple who run this food truck and will be running this operation.
It's a great spot. I mean, it's a lovely spot just to sit and have a ice cold beverage or a burger or whatever they're serving. But it's just, I mean, just the view and sit around. You're in the middle of a beautiful park and you have the skyline right there to look at. It's a great place.
And even when it's hot, there's shade over there. I mean, I used to eat there. I knew the place was in trouble though. One time I was walking to a Thunder game. You know, I walked right past the place. I thought, well, I'm gonna grab something to eat. I've got time. And I walked up and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We close 20 minutes before Thunder games." And I'm like, "You got thousands of people walking through the Myriad Gardens to the game, and you're closing?" So that was one of the last days that it was open. Actually, I didn't realize it was just about to close, but that happened to me.
Well,
so,
when the nice weather gets here, or maybe even before the nice weather gets here, head on down. It's a really nice spot. It really is. All right, banking. I guess we're going to have a take on the history of banking in the state.
Yeah, our Jack Money, he wrote a story not too long ago, or was involved in a story not too long ago that we had about a bank that was celebrating 100 years or 120 years, I forget what it was. And we sort of followed that up because what we found was there's several banks in the state of Oklahoma that claim to be the oldest bank in the state. And we just thought we'd take a look at the history of banking in Oklahoma. It's really interesting because Oklahoma's kind of a young state. It developed in different times based on land runs and other development. And so he's kind of taking a long look back at how banking got started in Oklahoma, but he's also talked to a lot of people who are, still currently in banking about how things have changed in recent years. I think it'll be a real interesting read for people just to learn more about Oklahoma banking.
That'll be Sunday?
That'll be Sunday.
Sunday, okay. All right, speaking of pitchforks, this is apparently where we're going to turn to Darnell, possibly maybe soon to be the most hated man in Oklahoma.
Doubt it.
Russell Westbrook, is he the MVP, and are you in agreement with the style of play that the Thunder have been using lately to win?
I think Russell Westbrook is right there for MVP. If he doesn't win it, obviously it's probably going to go to James Harden. And you can make a case for both of them, but Russell Westbrook has the narrative on his side. Kevin Durant left, no Serge Ibaka, no Deion Waiters. This is a completely different team in a lot of ways than what we saw last year. So he has that narrative working in his advantage. James Harden, the narrative isn't as strong for him, even though he's improved his team. I mean, they've improved by at least 10 wins. When it's all said and done, they will have improved by at least 10 wins. And they lost some key players from last year. So it's going to be an interesting debate. I think, if I had a vote, thank God I don't have a vote, I would probably go Westbrook, probably. I think this last week has really been it's kind of shifted a lot of votes, I think, towards Westbrook because the games that he had Monday in Dallas and then I think it was Wednesday against Orlando, just incredible finishes that he was able to construct. And, he's doing things that we really haven't seen. His 57-point, 13 rebound, 12 assists, or 11 assists, triple-double in Orlando, the overtime win. He brought them back from 21 down in the third quarter. He's just doing incredible things right now. So I think you probably have to give the edge to him at this point.
Is it good for Oklahoma City basketball?
In the regular season it is. As Don McCoy will tell you, they're 31-7 when he has a triple-double.
And we know that because these two had their phones out right beforehand
so
to outstat each other on this argument.
I mean, I think obviously it's successful in the regular season. The postseason is a totally different animal, and that's going to be interesting to see how the Thunder evolves in the postseason. Now, just because they're playing this way doesn't mean that this is the way they're going to play in the postseason. They played a completely different way last year in the regular season, and then in the postseason, it was like a light switched, and they became this different team where everyone was getting involved, the ball was moving, players were moving. So, I hope that's what we see this year because in the playoffs, you're not going to be able to rely just on Russell Westbrook.
Don, is he the MVP?
Yeah, I think so. He's leading the league in scoring, and he's averaging a triple-double. That's never even been approached. So, Yeah.
I mean, isn't the idea that if you don't have this guy, your team is not going to be, does he make your team better? And I can't imagine how bad the Thunder might be without Russell Westbrook. As opposed to, I don't know how the supporting cast is in Houston. I mean, does it compare to the Thunder's supporting cast?
It's probably a little better.
It's a little. They have more veteran players in Houston, and they've got better shooters. That's the thing that people will tell you in the case for Russell Westbrook.
Okay,
Houston
so he's
has
taken
better
a less experienced team.
Well, yeah,
Russell
less experienced
Westbrook.
team and not as good of shooters. So Russell Westbrook is really finding it difficult to average his 10.5 assists or whatever he's at now.
Those are layoffs at the rim, right?
Whereas James Harden, I mean, he's got these passes to these incredible shooters, and it's a lot easier for him to be able to get assists and for his team to be successful because they've got veteran players and better shooters.
Okay. Do you want to cast a ballot here?
Sure. Absolutely. I'd go with Russell, given what he's done with the talent around him. I like.
That's the correct answer.
And especially after coming off that Orlando game the other night, I mean, the guy was just spectacular. And granted, he may shoot a lot, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting debate. One final note I know is that the Final Four is coming up this week, and I just want to point out that 2 former Kansas State coaches will be coaching in that tournament. So just wanted.
Kansas State get a trophy for that?
I don't think so, but we are known now as the birthplace of coaches who go elsewhere and do great. So we got that going for us. So, I'm optimistic. Maybe. Anyway, see, that's the inside information you get, the condolences that we extend to Ben Felder, things like that we do. You can only get that here. Check, I mean, who else cares? Who else cares besides us? But be sure to pick up a subscription, pick up a copy of the paper, check us out online. 7 days a week. We have great content. I know you'll enjoy it. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us.